This is Mike, NoStressMike.com, and what I want to talk about is a survival tip for city people, and it's something that I kind of learned, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Right now, you can see we have laundry out being dried, so it's washed. Now we got a wash machine, but some of the stuff is washed by hand, and then it's stuck out there to dry. And like I say, you can see my wife's even making me a new sweater. So so making things, I never thought about the idea of making things, because my first wife of 41 years, she did the same thing. She knitted me sweaters too, and I never thought that much about it. But what it does is it keeps their mind busy, so they don't have to think about the crazy stuff that I'm doing. So I say, she's learning that already, and so we haven't been married hardly at all, and she's already knows she doesn't want to think about me anymore, and she has to. So, but one of the things another thing I want to talk about is in the way of food. And here, I'll let you see right here. Now this is sausage, and we bought the sausage raw sausage, and then she marinated it. And then after she marinated it, then she hung it up. And it's not just her. I mean, when you see my videos outside showing the pictures of the people with their laundry out there, they also have stuff like sausage hanging out there. And sausage, and I'm going to show you some more, but they marinate their meat and then they hang it up. Now, I say food has never been what do you call it? A priority for me. And the reason is, I was born and raised in the restaurant business. We always had food, and always had water. I mean, I was spoiled. We had money, had food, had money. We had everything that we needed: a dry house, comfortable home. So I was kind of spoiled. That's one of the reasons why I joined the Marine Corps, is I knew life isn't like this. I mean, not everybody enjoys life as much as I do. And I thought, okay, well, let me find out what it's like to be hungry. Let me find out what it's like to be thirsty. And so I joined the Marines and, went to war. And I learned about hunger, and I learned about thirst, and I learned about all kinds of things. And so I did get hungry. I did learn. This is what motivates people. Same thing. If you have a military, that's why feeding your military is an important thing. When you can't feed your military, you're going to lose your military. Well, I've made videos about that. So you have to have food. And, here, let me show you what we had here. Let's see. I don't know what kind of stuff that is. I don't know. That is the same thing like you'd make bacon, but they marinated the bacon, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. They marinated the whole big piece, and then they hang it up and dry. And that right there is on garlic. You know what garlic is, but the plant itself, after it grows up, that's what that is. Very good. Very good. I didn't know what that was. I just now found out what it was. I've been eating it, and I like it, but I never knew what it was. And but anyway, I say I've been around food all the time, so it wasn't no big deal. But I noticed my father, even though we owned a restaurant, and then I had a stepmother, and she was Chinese and came from China, and they have a garden. And they always grew a garden. And so I thought, man, that's really weird. All the food we have, and you're growing a garden? And let me show you there. That's like whole pieces of bacon, and they've cut it into pieces about like that, and then they marinated it or my wife, she marinated it and then hung it up. It's been hanging there about a week now. And I've always seen that stuff on. And as Americans, we think when there's food hanging out like that, oh man, it's unsanitary and all that. But like I say, I've been watching it, and there's no flies. And now yes, there's the dust and dirt and stuff in the air, but I don't know. I think you'd still do it. I wouldn't know why you wouldn't. When the same thing like you would, we've talked about when the country, you would use, if after shit hits the fan, you don't have any gasoline anyway, so you have cars parked, and there you've got a dehydrator right there. All you got to do is hang your food or put it on a tray in a parked car, and it'll dry it out for you. So that's the same thing. And now this is the meat. And this is one thing I've noticed now. Like I say, we've started up our own house now, and we get vegetables just about every day. We go to the market and get the vegetables, and that's why I find it odd that we got a refrigerator, but really don't need the refrigerator. We got stuff frozen in there, but other than that, now it's kind of cold weather. We got a heater, but we don't really run it. And so it stays kind of cool in here. That's why you see me all the time wearing something. It stays cool. So you really don't need to refrigerate all the vegetables we have. Stuff like you saw our leftovers. It's not refrigerated. But one thing that I did notice, and this is what made me think about it, is yesterday I went up on the roof. And there was nothing up there but clotheslines. And that's one of the things that kind of shocked me, is I expected people to be growing things up there. So I would say, and I say, now we have, like I say, for our they call, I guess, people on the internet have been watching my videos call it a cage, but you can see on the bottom, and now see, these don't open. I wish they would have opened, then we can get to it. But you could put a garden right out there, on the windowsill, and that's no big deal. Now I understand why people do like that, and why people put these gardens up on the roof and stuff like that. The people that I've been talking to, not so much the older people, but the young ones. I mean, I've been talking to them, maybe 10 years old and, 12, 14 years old. And in their minds, they say, man, there's so much food in China, Well, they don't realize, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people were starving. And then, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, they genuinely was starving. There was no food. And I say now, my family, my Chinese family in the United States, they all pretty much have gardens. And they, like I say, they do all of this stuff. And I'm spoiled American, and I think, well, why are you doing all this stuff, Now I come here and I see where my family came from. I can see their mindset. Now you got to remember, my family's been in the United States since 1920s. They know what starvation is. That's one reason why it used to be all the Chinese owned restaurants. That's why. You own a restaurant, you're not going to starve to death. And that's what my dad told me too. He says, man, as long as we got a restaurant, it doesn't matter if we got business or not, we'll always have food in our stomach. So nowadays, they don't look at things like that. So now they get a bunch of Chinese restaurants in one place. I've talked about how they used to kind of control how many Chinese restaurants were in different communities and stuff like that. But anyway, the main thing I was trying to get across is, as city folk, I can see where saving food they don't have the room. Like I say, let's see, we got dehydrated food. We got one bedroom about like this, filled with dehydrated food, guns, and ammunition. You know what I mean? So, and I say in the city, you don't have that much room. So they do things differently. And that's what shocked me, the two of us. Now, other than the vegetables, we got plenty of meat. It's easy enough to store water, if we wanted to store water. I don't know if I would... Like I say, I'm not a water storing kind of guy. I'd rather have water purification. Now I don't know if we have to have some kind of water stored, but still, at that, we're up high enough. You cut off the electric with no elevator, man, you're not going to be able to walk up and down these stairs. And trying to carry water up and down the stairs, there's no way. So I'm not quite sure still. I haven't figured out how you're going to survive a lot of this stuff in this type of environment. You saw me looking in the villages, and here we can see, like I say, I'm right on the edge. And you can see down there, when you're on ground level, it would be much easier to store water and have things like that. So, but I don't know how. So there's a lot I still haven't figured out. And like I say, now all that I just showed you, eventually those are going to be apartment buildings like this also, or it'll be a park, or it'll be something, right? What they do is they kind of like checkerboard it, and then they will develop different squares as they go. So, but I say the one thing I still can't get used to in the city is being dependent. I mean, I'm dependent on turning on that faucet and the water coming out. I'm dependent on going to the market and getting our vegetables. And, when you're in the city, you are really dependent. So still haven't got it figured out, but I'm working on it. This is Mike, NoStressMike.com.